Hey, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Pep Talk, the podcast. We give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us, God. We take all these interesting health and wellness and medical conversations that you're having and you're hearing about all over social media, and we take them and we break them down into small, simple, digestible, and understandable segments. And we give you action steps that you can start taking today to help improve your health, the health of your family, and those of you that are physicians, you guys can take this information, help your patients, and improve your community's health. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Naputi, 20-year practicing physical medicine, functional medicine, and functional neuro doctor to help people get to the root cause of their problems by using common sense health in a world where common sense, it just ain't that common. Today, I want to take you down a journey of your thyroid. How many of you have heard of thyroid problems, whether it's hyperthyroid, hypothyroid, Graves' disease, all the things that are out there? I want to help you understand a little bit more of it, break it down, keep it simple, and help you understand what you can do to improve the health of yourself and individuals that are dealing with thyroid issues. Let's talk about, first of all, some of the symptoms that people could have with thyroid problems. Now, think about it like this. Your thyroid is either going to be overactive, underactive, bouncing back and forth, or working normal. So here's some of the symptoms of what's called hypothyroid or low thyroid function. All right. This is fatigue and weakness. This is feeling constantly tired, even with adequate rest. Weight gain, especially weight gain that is just showing up without changing your diet, without changing your lifestyle. You're getting all this weight gain. You're getting sensitivity to cold a lot more, usually chilly more often than usual. Dry skin and dry, cracky hair. That's a big one. Constipation is a big sign of thyroid dysfunction. We also have muscle aches and joint pain. That's a real common. Stiffness has a lot to do with thyroid dysfunction, was a hypothyroid. Changes in mood and depression, a feeling of irritability, mood swings, and depressive can be low thyroid function. Memory issues, that brain fog that people deal with a lot, can be contributed to because of hypofunctioning thyroid. Menstrual irregularities, heavy periods, irregular periods, prolonged cycles, that could be a sign of thyroid dysfunction. Swollen neck. Your thyroid is this little bow tie looking structure just below your Adam's apple, right in here around the lateral part of your throat, your trachea. If you get swelling in there, that's known as a goiter. That could be a problem of hypofunctioning thyroid. When organs don't work as well as they should, they swell, they get bigger to try to put more output out. You get a slow heart rate, bradycardia, slower than normal heart rate a lot of times, which again can also lead to sitting from dizziness. Dizziness from sitting to standing can be a part of that. And then high cholesterol. Cholesterol is regulated in a lot of parts by the thyroid hormones. And if the thyroid is not functioning proper, that could be an issue with cholesterol. If you're dealing with hyperthyroid, that's an overactive thyroid, a little less common, but still we find it a lot. And a lot of times we find hyperthyroid and then it crashes because it's like pedal to the metal and you run out of gas and then you get hypothyroid. So what are the symptoms of overactive thyroid? Rapid weight loss with unexplained origin. If you ever have weight loss, like you don't change your diet, you don't change your lifestyle, it just all of a sudden you start losing weight, you got to start asking some questions of what's really going on here. Especially weight loss with increased appetite, increased heart rate. That's heart palpitations, tachycardia. That's definitely a big sign of it. Heat intolerance. So cold intolerance is hypothyroid. Heat intolerance is hyperthyroid. And a lot of times excessive sweating, nervousness, anxiousness, that could be a sign of it. Increased appetite, tremors, that shakiness that people get a lot of times, it could be an overactive thyroid. Difficulty sleeping, that's insomnia, having trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, those kinds of things. Frequent bowel movements. So the opposite of hypothyroid, which is constipation, frequent bowel movements could be, a result of diarrhea because of hyperthyroid. Thinning skin and thinning hair. Thin skin and hair is a lot of times associated with hormone imbalances, especially with low functioning thyroid issues. If people have light or irregular periods, and then sometimes we'll get Graves' disease where you'll see like a bulging of the eyeballs. Okay, it looks like the eyes are big or almost kind of bugging out just a little bit. So just understand that this is a very common condition. In fact, the latest data and research says about 15% of the population has some varying degree of hypothyroidism, and it's more in women than it is men, even though we're finding it more in men than ever. And then we find less of it, which is the hyperthyroid. About 5% of the general population is going to have that. There's also autoimmune components to thyroid issues, which are almost always from the gut. And that's things like Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, and et cetera. But the real thing is the subclinical, undiagnosed thyroid issues, where it looks like a duck, smells like a duck, and quacks like a duck. You have all the symptoms of hyper or hypothyroid, but yet you go and get a blood test done and your blood levels are normal. That's because the body is always in a state of homeostasis. It's robbing Peter to pay Paul to try to get things to balance out. So a lot of times you have the symptoms, but the blood test doesn't show your full-blown hypo or hyperthyroid, and your doctors, because they're trying to manage your disease, and if they don't see the blood work showing in a disease state, they don't know what to do. There's so many things you can do, so many things you can do right now. Let's talk about that, especially for the root causes of it. Now, in my practices, we know that the thyroid is a secondary organ. I always joke and say the thyroid is like that kid in the family that gets blamed for stuff that it's not really his or her fault. They just get blamed for everything. How many of y'all know people that just get blamed for everything? Well, that's the thyroid. Okay, because so many of those other symptoms that are out there can be coming from other problems. The thyroid is a secondary organ, which means something else typically has to be out of balance before the thyroid itself is really going to be the root cause. Now, I want to talk about some of those things. From a genetic standpoint, I recommend that every man, woman, and child has a genetic profile. Why? Because that's the blueprint of who you are and what you do. Your genes, and I'm not talking about running some tiddlywink little 5 or 10 gene test. I'm talking about running an 800,000 plus gene test and getting a report that tells you exactly what to do. All my patients and myself and my family, we use the BioLimitless DNA Discovery Wellness Kit. I've just never seen anything like it on the market. And we look at the single nucleotide polymorphisms. These are the genes that are not firing like they're supposed to. There's dirty genes and there are clean genes. The dirty genes are genes that they have glitches. They're just not working like they're supposed to. And there's a list of those, and I want to share that list with you. So let me give you a list. You write this down or remember these genes, because these could be part of the root cause of your thyroid dysfunction. Number 1 is called a DIO1 or a DIO2 gene. This, if you have this gene problematic, that doesn't allow for the body to convert T4 to T3. So let me just real quick. Thyroid stimulating hormone is produced by the pituitary in the brain. That then goes down and tells the thyroid to produce something called T4. T4 then converts through the liver, the adrenals, the kidneys, the hormones, other areas of the body. That converts into T3. T3 is the usable form of the thyroid hormone, right? They're all important. And that's why if a TSH, a T3 or T4 is abnormal, whatever that pattern shows tells your provider what's really wrong. And then it gives them an idea of what clues can lead them down the rabbit hole of the root cause of the problem. Well, if you have this DIO1 or DIO2 gene as a dirty gene, that could be the reason why you're not converting your T4 into T3. Very big deal. Number 2, you could have an MTHFR gene. I'm going to tell you that I find MTHFR almost on every single one of my thyroid patients, because those people shouldn't have gluten. Gluten competes with the T3 and T4 function in the thyroid. Those folks need methylated B vitamins, L-methylfolate for their B9, and they also need to have methylcobalamin as well. That's the form of B12 that should be taken. MTHFR is a big deal with thyroid hormone synthesis and detoxification pathways, which if the liver backs up, that's going to cause problems with the thyroid as well. Another gene is called COMT. COMT gene. This gene has a major impact on dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter produced in the lower GI tract. And then it has a big to do with estrogen metabolism. And estrogen has a tremendous amount to do with thyroid function, which is why we find hypofunction thyroid on women more than we find it on men, even though we do find it on both. Another gene is the VDR gene. This is vitamin D receptor gene. This gene, if it's impaired, the immune system is impaired. Vitamin D is essential to have balance so that your thyroid works like it's supposed to. So you should always have a thyroid panel done with a vitamin D level as well to make sure that that's not a contributing factor. There's also the brain-gut connection. We know that we have literally hundreds of trillions of bacteria in and on our body that our body works symbiotically with to help our hormones, our chemicals, and our body do what it's supposed to do. And if we have a disruption in that brain-gut system, because we don't have the right amount of fiber in our diet, which are prebiotics. We don't have the right amount of good bacteria, which are probiotics. We don't have the right amount of good fatty acids and medium chain and short chain fatty acids, which are postbiotics. That then leads to these problems. So that's why you should eat fermented foods. You should take a spore-based master microbiotic. You should do that every day to keep your bacteria where it's supposed to be. That brain-gut connection is a big deal. That's also why iodine and selenium. So iodine and selenium are two really powerful nutrients for the brain-gut connection for the thyroid function itself. Really big deal. We find iodine and selenium deficiencies on genetic profiles and also on blood tests as well. But the thyroid itself is a secondary organ. So if the thyroid shows abnormal, or if you have symptoms of thyroid dysfunction, you also need to check a few other areas in the body. Number one, the liver. If the liver is not detoxifying proper, if you have elevated AST or ALT enzymes or fatty liver syndrome, you got to get that dealt with. I've done podcasts on liver detoxification, the benefits of intermittent fasting for taking the fat off the liver. There's just so many things that need to be done with that. You also need to look at your hormone function, especially estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. Those are big ones. If those are out of balance, that can contribute to thyroid issues. You also need to look at, like I said before, the small intestine and large intestine. If we have leaky gut syndrome, that has to be fixed first and foremost, okay? We also have to look at the ovaries and the testes. If there's problems with that, that's going to cause thyroid issues. The kidneys have a lot to do with the renin-angiotensin pathway, which also has a lot to do with thyroid problems. So if you're talking to a thyroid expert, they're going to look at all of those levels. They're going to measure your gut, measure your cells, measure all those organs. They're going to look at your genetics. That's really the root of this thing. We're going to look at the vagus nerve as well, because the vagus nerve is the nerve that comes out of the base of the skull on both sides that goes down and controls the thyroid and the autonomic nervous system. Also, your spine and the spinal nerves of the central nervous system could be contributing factors to thyroid dysfunction. Your spine's like a big fuse box. All these different nerves that come out of the 33 vertebrae of the spine go to different areas of the body and different organs. The nerves at C4 and C3 and sometimes C5 in the neck control the thyroid. So you could have whiplash injuries, and that could be causing your thyroid issues. There's a multitude of things that could be causing these problems. That's why we shouldn't guess, we should test. Okay, very, very important. Some of the nutrients that could be deficient, iodine. I'm a big fan of iodine. That's a big contributor to hypothyroidism. Selenium converts T4 to T3. I personally take 300 micrograms of selenium every single day. Zinc and vitamin D. Zinc, about 50 milligrams a day is what I take. Vitamin D, I take 15 to 20,000 international units a day of D3. Iron is another big one. Iron is critical for the enzyme function for the thyroid. Now, the best way to supplement iron, I feel, is to take beef liver extract. If you're a vegetarian, just pretend that it's a vegetarian beef liver extract and you'll be fine. But seriously, it's the best way to get it in your system, okay? You can also do iron infusions, but the metal iron supplements that are out there are very difficult for people to absorb. Look, here are some toxins that can cause disruption in the thyroid. Fluoride and chlorine. It's another reason why fluoride shouldn't be in your drinking water. It blocks iodine. Okay, both those, fluoride and chlorine, block iodine. Heavy metals like mercury and lead also mess up the enzyme conversions for thyroid function. And then BPAs. BPAs are the plastic chemical that are found in our food. They're found in our water. They're found in all kinds of stuff. In the rain, in the air. It's weird. Those things cause hormone disruptors as well, including the thyroid. So make sure to help with this, you got to find the root cause of the problem. And that's really the key. You should be looking at a genetic level. You should be looking to see what you can do to improve gut health. You can reduce your deficiencies, toxicities. That DNA discovery kit tells you how you should eat, how you should sleep, tells you the things really that you should do. But I also like using peptides like BPC 157, either orally or injectably. Those peptides seem to work really well with getting the body to heal. And a lot of times healing the gut, which really BPC 157 is masterful at doing, will help heal and seal the body systemically as well. So, folks, listen, I know this is a really quick hit, a lot of information. I've done multiple workshops on the thyroid. I want to encourage you to go and watch those workshops. I want to encourage you to get with somebody who can help you get to the root cause of the problem, who's going to give you a comprehensive approach, not just managing your symptoms and diseases. Man, that's so old school, archaic, and just wrong. So here's what I want you to do. Go back, rewatch this, share this with your friends and family. Go to our website, go to peptalk.world. That's peptalk.world. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share on all the social media platforms that are out there. Also, make sure that you understand that you have the power to change your life and to change your health. I want to try to give you the map, the keys, and the car, but you still got to drive it. Knowledge is power, but wisdom is taking that knowledge and applying it to your life. All right, folks, until we meet again, I'm Dr. Eric Naputi. God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. Stay smart out there, and I'll see you soon. Be well.